Coming in at number 20, another album I have on cassette. This, of course, is Jethro Tull's Heavy Horses. Definitely a good album. Of course, definitely the second album within his whole, folk rock stuff. But I still like this one. Of course, it's a good prog-ish album. It's folky, but at the same time, it's definitely a prog rock album. And most prog rock bands had kind of a folk thing going for them to begin with. Sometimes very synth, whatever. But here, this is a good album. Some of the best songs off of here were like, oh god, I think like No Lullaby, or was it fucking Acres Wild? I can't remember. One of these really had a really good song. Of course, the song Weathercock is just a good album, really. It's definitely not nearly as heavy or so as some of the album I would say that comes after this one, which was Stormwatch. But it's a good album. I like it. Of course, Jethro Tull being a band I pretty much grew up with myself, so nostalgia right there. But it's a good album. Definitely worthy of being on my list. Really can't say anything bad about it. Oh man. So, coming in at number 19 is David Coverdale's Snakebite. Now this definitely is more of an EP than really a album. Of course, there was an extended version that added 4 tracks off his solo album North Wind, which was also released in 1978. This of course is definitely the debut with the full Whitesnake lineup, or what definitely was. It just minus John Lord. Here, of course, the only one that was definitely with him during the solo stuff is guitarist Mickey Moody. All the other members were replacing members after members for solo stuff, because the lineup on here is different than the lineup that recorded the North Winds album. But still, for a 4-track EP, this is still a good album, actually. Still good. Bloody Mary, Steal Away, of course, is a cover of Ain't No Love in the Heart of City, and Come On. Yeah. Of course, after this, he would, of course, keyboard player Pete Sooley would end up getting replaced by John Lord for the, Trouble. So, just a good EP that, in some ways, I think this really does kind of continue the sound of Deep Purple's Come Taste the Band and Stormbringer, because it still very much has that Deep Purple sound to it. Just a good EP from David Coverdale's Whitesnake. Alright, so coming at number 18 is another cassette. This, of course, is April Wine's First Glance. This, I would say, is probably one of my first exposures to to April Wine. Just good songs on this one. Get Ready for Love, Hot on the Wheels of Love, Roller, of course, Silver Dollar. Just some good songs on this album. Of course, this is, of course, the cassette is the American, at least the US version, not really the Canadian version, which switches Get Ready for Love and Hot on the Wheels of Love. It switches those two songs to where Hot on the Wheels of Love is track number 1 and Get Ready for Love is track number 2. But yeah, it's a good album. Definitely a good Canadian hard rock album. Yeah, still like it. It's a good one. Definitely good enough to be on that list. Of course, I haven't really listened to any of the other albums prior to that one, other than maybe checking out here and there of Electric Jewels. Still, it's a good album. That's all I can say. Now, now coming in number 17, I don't have it, but I have listened to it. Of course, it's UFO's Obsession, which which at the time was the last album to feature Michael Schenker as a guitar player. The last studio album, last release with him as a guitar player was the live album Stranger Than the Night. Now the album definitely still continues that sound that was very definitely on albums such as No Heavy Petting, oh god, what was the other one? Forset. That, and even Phenomenon. Still, good album. That's all I can say. Hot and Ready. Was it Hot and Heavy? I think was that. Yeah, I can't completely blank on that one. But it's a good album. It's definitely got some good hard rockers. It's definitely, though to be quite honest, I haven't really heard a bad UFO album. I really haven't at this point, but it's a good album. That's all I can say. Definitely good. Alright, coming at number 16 is the album that's playing in the background. This is a very obscure band, and I know here in the past you're expecting me to show up, but the thing is I really don't have a legit physical copy of this one, and trying to find a copy of this one is going to be tough. This is, of course, is Mass with their second album, Rock and Roll Power, at 25th Hour. Now, Mass are not to be confused with the US band of the same name. This is a German band, and they can be looked as one of the first wave of heavy metal bands. And in some ways, I look at them as one of the first wave of German metal bands. They were formed in like 1973, and they definitely were around the same time as Scorpions. They didn't form though, or didn't release stuff until after Lucifer Friend or so, but they definitely do predate, except just a very obscure and very much a overlooked German hard rock heavy metal band, and Rock and Roll Power at 25th Hour is a good album. Definitely a little better than their debut Back to the Music, which is still fairly heavy though for like though it says 1977, but because they want to say that it's their second album when that first album hasn't been fucking released, so how can you say that Back to the Music is their second album if their debut hasn't been released? I don't get that logic. Anyways, yeah, it's a definitely good album, and it's definitely not nearly as heavy as what Accept will end up doing, but of course, after this album, they would of course kind of start changing their sound a bit to being more close to that sound that Britain were kind of doing. With the whole new wave of British heavy metal, they would definitely start changing their sound more closer to that within the 80s. But Rock and Roll Power at 25th Hour is a very good, early metal album. I definitely do recommend checking out for those who are very much into stuff like Nazareth, or what Crocus were putting out at that time, or Rose Tattoo, or fucking ACDC, or even Scorpions, that shit. It's definitely just within that vein. And of course, if you can hear in the background, it's definitely like that. Yeah, it's a good album, and like again, trying to find a physical copy of this to buy, it's gonna be a pain in the ass, cause I can't really. Once in a while, I'll see it listed, but it will be at either $20 or maybe 30 or so. It's a pretty expensive album. Of course, the last time actually I do see this listed, and it's always at times even at 60. That's the highest I've seen it go for. I'm still looking for a copy of this album. It's just a good album from them. Alright, so coming in at number 15 is, of course, your old Uncle Ted's Weekend Warrior. Now, of course, being released out, or coming off the heels of his live album, Double Live Gonzo. This is definitely it still keeps up the energy. Songs such as the title track, Smoke Screen, Venom Soup, Pick Your Poison, fucking, Good Friends and a Bottle of Wine. There is just some good songs on this one. But of course, not really made my top 10 or so, but it's still a good album nonetheless. I still enjoy this album. Weekend Warriors from Ted Nugent. Just nothing bad to say about it at all. Jeez. Coming at number 14 now, you might think that this one would be within my, top 10, but it isn't. It, of course, is ACDC's If You Want Blood, You've Got It, which of course was their official live album. That pretty much ended up. I guess I can play that unless I end up feeling a bust putting another album on, maybe. But yeah, you'd think that this one would make my top 10 list, but the thing is, it's a good live album. I do like it. ACDC being one of my favorite bands. This, of course, was definitely actually released definitely straight after the Power Edge album, and of course it's got some good versions of Riff Raff, Bad Pace, The Bee, Bad Boy Boogie, Problem Child, which is actually to me the only song from the Dirty Deeds Done Your Teeth album to even be played live, or even have to be recorded live during the Bon Scott era, because the actual, of course, the song Rocker was, of course, on the international version of Dirty Deeds Done Your Teeth, but to be quite honest, that was nothing more than the record company being so oblivious to actually releasing Dirty Deeds Done Your Teeth the way that should have been, which, of course, is the Australian version of Dirty Deeds Done Your Teeth, because most of that album has not really been played live because you'll still hear them play, the title track, definitely here and there, but most of that album does not really get played that much live. Even you'll probably hear Right On here and there, but it's an album that just gets in some ways almost overlooked within even the band's live settings. And of course, if you don't know the story behind the reason why Dirty Deeds Done Your Teeth was never released in the US, because the record labels pretty much thought it was too raw, or I guess in some ways maybe too heavy for them. But here it's got some good versions of the song High Voltage, Let There Be Rock. It's a good album, though. That's all I can say, especially being recorded during the Bon Scott era. What else can you ask for? Of course, it features probably one of the most gnarliest artwork to even, to be, the Grace, a ACDC album. course, the back cover as well. Just a good album, though. Good live album. Of course, 1978, 77, 76, 75, or up to 79 or 80 was pretty much the time of the live albums. And ACDC pretty much jumped on it. And here's, so coming at number 13, didn't want it to be that coincidental, but it's Rose Tattoo's Rock and Roll Outlaw. Now, the coincidence, the fact is, Rose Tattoo actually shares are very pretty much connected historically to ACDC. Not just, being on Albert Records, but we're both has from their albums, most of from the debut up to their fourth album, which I can't seem to remember at this point, all being produced by Harry Vanda and George Young, who of course is best known for producing ACDC's early albums. And of course, Blow Up Your Video. But also another thing is the fact that ACDC drummer Phil Rudd was in a band with Angry Anderson and another member of Rose Tattoo in a band called oh god, what was their name? Buster Brown, I think, was the name, or something like that. Let me just look that up so I don't feel like a complete idiot. I know a little long of a video, but you know what? These list videos are always gonna be fucking long. Yeah, I'm definitely correct. Buster Brown. Phil Rudd was in which featured Angry Anderson and the member of Rose Tattoo. And it was definitely before Phil Rudd even joined ACDC. Even though that's actually not the only thing that Rose Tattoo, or the ACDC isn't the only band that they are connected to. Rose Tattoo also shares a connection with another Australian band, and that is Buffalo, which of course Buffalo are to me are pretty much Australia's answer to Black Sabbath. Guitar player Peter Wells was the bass player for Buffalo, playing on classic albums such as Dead Forever and Volcanic Rock. So, of course, Rose Tattoo, of course, even having a sound very similar to ACDC, but the thing is, Rose Tattoo were more of a angrier version of ACDC. Their sound is a lot more, in some ways, a little more pissed. Very much, and of course, they're probably even due to the antics of Angry Anderson and co. Just the power of the album is just at times real fast, more raw, just something that I guess to some people ACDC kind of lacked in some ways. Even though I'm a huge ACDC fan, but when you listen to both Rose Tattoo and ACDC, there's definitely a somewhat of a difference, and of course Rock and Roll Outlaw is just the album itself does have a lot of more, it's a little more serious, if anything, because ACDC were a lot more tongue-in-cheek, or more, at times they can be a little silly in some ways, but Rose Tattoo were just more serious, more about, it was just more in your face than ACDC. And Rock and Roll Outlaw, like I said, it's a fucking good album. Just a damn good album. And if you want to know where a band such as Airborne gets their sound from, it isn't always just from ACDC. It definitely comes from Rose Tattoo. Just a good album. Coming at number 12, another album, and you'll be actually surprised I don't have it, is of course the Scorpions Tokyo Tapes, which is while Taken by Force is looked as the last album to feature, you know, Uli Jon Roth, this is the last thing to really to have Uli Jon Roth as a guitar player. It's the last thing, and it's a classic live album. What else can be said about Tokyo Tapes? It just captures the raw energy of the 70s material, even at times beefing up that 70s material to just, it's pretty much there unleashed in the East. Just a damn good album. And definitely up there as one of the greatest live albums, and just fucking good. And like, again, it just is a good, another example of why the 1970s was just a damn good year even for live albums. Just that raw energy. So with that, coming in at number 11 is another album I don't have, but I'm also been getting into these guys recently. That is Budgie with Impeccable. And this was actually the last album for Tony Bourge, who would, of course, would leave to go on and form Tridigar, or Tridigar, whatever their fucking name, however I can best spell that. He would form that band after leaving Budgie, but here, this is still a good album. You can kind of tell that there's a change in sound. They definitely were going more for a little commercial sound, even though it's nothing really compared to what Power Supply is. But it still is a good album, and it has some good songs. But at the same time, it's probably nowhere near as good as the albums prior to this one. But it's a good album. I still like Impeccable. There's some good songs on it. It's just a good album. Alright, so I'm gonna right here actually stop the video, and the next one is gonna be the top 10, all top 10. So, I'll definitely stop this, and I'll definitely start recording that, so, later.